Welcome to another episode of Until It's Done, a devoted podcast. I'm your host, Dana Lynn Kay. And we have a really, really awesome podcast for you today. And I'm not just saying that. Actually, to even back this up, my mother, who's not here right now, is the one who connected this special guest. She's such an extraordinary woman. My mom can't stop talking about her. She's actually the woman who is working with and training with my mother right now. And if she made the cut to work out with Mickey and to train Mickey and all of that, then she's got her stuff together. So this is Maria Redman. Hi, Maria. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so thrilled for you to be here. So my mom called me and she tells me I met this woman at the gym and you don't understand. She's going on. And I swear, I think I did a 5-mile walk just hearing all about Maria. And it's like, she's trying to sell me on this woman. I'm like, do you want me to date her? I don't even know where we're going with this. I'm like, okay. I believe you, Mom. And she is extraordinary in all that she's done in her story. And you're just going to love her and you're going to love her. So finally, I go to Mom's house and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to come over. Let me know when Maria's there. I would love to meet Maria. Now, it turns out you had actually
met you years and years and years ago when you first were working with your Flex Flavors. You had set up a table at a show.
Shocking.
That I competed at. I know. Yeah. Shocker. And I came over to your table and I was super excited because I was looking for different things to add to my recipes when I started nutrition and wanted to have something that wasn't out yet. And you had
the Flex Flavors.
The Flex Flavors.
Yeah.
And we talked for 45 minutes.
Oh my God. You have a familiarness about, with all the people I've spoken to through the years, but geez, it
was crazy. And I was so enamored with the product and I started really purchasing and utilizing the product and fell in love with it. So devotion's always been a part of my life, which is really, really cool.
Wild.
So it's crazy that it came back.
Yes.
Meeting your mom. And I think we were in North Carolina at the time, North Carolina or South Carolina.
Okay.
I can't remember where we were.
Yes.
But it was umpteen years ago at this point.
Yeah.
So, being here and meeting your mom and then realizing that she was your mom was mind blowing to me. It was crazy.
Oh, and she's like, oh, and she knows you and she knows devotion. And I'm like, okay, wow, okay, yeah. She met you and I'm like, okay, all right, I'm coming over. And of course, obviously, Maria and I hit it off and we could talk for hours. And then finally I was like, okay, you got to be on the podcast and because we have so much to talk about. And we really do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I see your post and then you'll post about something that I'm like, oh, that's a good one. We need to talk about that. And so, you really do have an extraordinary story. And first of all, tell me what you do. Give everybody just so that they understand
the snapshot of what I do. So what I do currently, I'm a dietitian and I'm a sports certified nutritionist, and I deal with a lot of autoimmune disorders as well. So really dealing with autoimmune is my pure enjoyment and excitement, because getting someone from an unhealthy state to a healthy state with autoimmune disorders are extremely difficult. You can clearly just change their life. So that's really where I like to really drill down on. And I work with a lot of people who want to get off the couch and do something that they've never done before. Whether it's running or cycling or swimming or anything, getting on stage. I take a lot of women that are in 40 plus age group and put them on stage and turn them into pros.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my biggest claim to fame right now.
So you obviously like challenges.
I do.
Yeah.
I love challenges.
Well, yeah, I can see that in you because you're always the type that's always just level up. I know. And so, okay, so that's what you do. And how did you get into this?
Yeah, so let me give you a bit of the backstory. I've always loved sports as a kid. So when my brothers were playing football, I'm the only girl. I wanted to play football. I begged my mom to let me play 80-pound football on the boys' team, and the Parks and Rec allowed me to play.
Wow.
So that's where I kind of got my start. However, I was always a chunky kid. I always ate. I was an eater.
I understand
didn't eat
that.
poorly, but I would overeat whatever I could eat.
Okay.
And then we grew up poor, so when there was food available, I was my hibernation. I was stocking up.
Yeah.
Just in case we didn't eat for a few days.
Yeah, like a chipmunk or something.
You never know.
I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did that. However, I continued to play sports. Elementary, I did everything that you can do in elementary: kickball, archery, all of that good stuff. I just loved being outdoors. And My dad, unfortunately, at the time was an alcoholic and a drug addict. So sports was kind of like my outlet to get away from home and not have to be in the home and go through some of the trauma and drama that was happening there. It evolved into middle school where my world into cross country really opened up. I don't know why I picked cross country over just regular standard track. I really think, honestly,
you need a challenge.
I didn't know what was going on.
Right. Okay.
Until they were like, we're running. And I was like, when are we stopping?
Oh my God.
We've been running.
We've been running and
it's
running.
almost 5 o'clock. We got out of school at 2:30. Like,
Oh my God.
Are we not
Yeah,
done?
I would probably run, turn straight around and just run
I
home.
should run home.
Yeah.
But I fell in love with it. And what I noticed in middle school was the running was giving me an opportunity to just clear my mind. It was just, I guess I was having the runner's high. I know that now, but then I didn't know. But I was just coming home really clear-minded and looking forward to getting back to school and doing my schoolwork so I can get to go run again.
Wow.
Didn't lose any weight, but kept running, did extremely well in cross country, and then decided to join the Police Athletic League, which was a Parks and Rec program, so I can escape the house some more.
Sure.
And that is kind of how my track and field career started. I was running long distance, of course, the mile, 800 at first, and then my coach decided to say, hey, let's try some shorter distances, and I did okay. But it wasn't until a track meet happened that they needed someone to run the last leg in a 4x100. Back then, the system ran off of points. So we had enough points, but if we didn't do that race, we would have disqualified and lost. So she's like, we're going to win either way if you come in dead last. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dead last? I don't do last.
I don't right.
I'm winning all my other stuff. I don't do last. This is not. So I get my gumption together, and the girls were laughing because, I was really big at that point. I think I was about 9th grade. I was at least 200 pounds at that point.
Oh, wow.
So I was always a big girl. Well, I got that baton and I just hauled tail. And
heck yes.
We won that race.
This is like a movie.
We won that race.
Yeah.
And it clearly showed me that I could do it if I put my mind to it. And so everything after that became this mental, challenge of just doing all the different sports. After I got out of high school, it continued on with some more track and field in college. And then I eventually played women's professional full contact football.
Holy cow.
Yeah, for 3 seasons. So
oh my
as a tight end. So I played for the Carolina Queens. Loved it. And still was a heavy girl.
Yeah.
And I thought I was doing well. Well, at my retirement party, my son, my third oldest, who was 8 at the time, asked me if I was going to be fat forever while I was eating a blue cupcake in front of everybody.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, he called me out.
Oh, wow.
This just happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I ate the cupcakes, by the way.
Just finish it. Until it's done.
Until it's done.
You're already in it. So,
until it's done.
Yeah, can't turn back then.
But the next day, I joined a gym that was an hour away from my home. I don't do well with convenience. I don't know why. And so challenges, right?
Right. You may as well start running to the gym too.
Right. So picked a gym, got a trainer, and started training for 2 hours a day. I had discretionary time and discretionary finances, God bless, at the time.
Yeah.
And said, I'm going to pour in a year of just figuring out how to get myself healthy. And honestly, Dana, it was not about a look for me.
Okay.
It was the fact that I was a mom.
Yeah.
And I wanted to teach my children how to take care of their body. I brought them here.
Yeah.
And I'm in charge and I'm in control. And what was I teaching my children on taking care of their temple?
Right.
Now, thankfully, they were all little tiny things and, not overweight. But how long was that going to last?
Yeah. Oh, no. It's
right. And still, you could be skinny and unhealthy.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to kind of just really take a year and dive and pour into myself so that I can pour into my children
That's
properly.
huge. Yes. It's so important.
So that's what I felt.
Okay.
So started with the trainer, and then I went back to school to get my dietary degree because I'm a nerd as well.
Yes.
And I wanted to figure out all the ins and outs of why we're doing what we're doing. And then that sparked me getting personal training certification after personal training certification.
Yeah.
Because I'm just a naturally inquisitive person. And I was paying a lot of money for the trainer and figured at some point I can do this
But you're a
on my
person
own.
that's you want to know why are we
Yes.
doing this and how does this work this way and then you
Right.
need the education and the knowledge to make the changes and to apply it.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you weren't look. It's like, okay, if you want to waste the time being a guinea pig and trying to figure it out, but you were like, no, I need
Yes.
I want to know these
Streamline
things.
the process.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's where where a lot of people sometimes go wrong. They kind of just keep trying a bunch of different things, but
Yeah.
not really understanding what's happening with the things that they're trying.
Yes.
Right. So they're not really getting the knowledge base, and
Yep.
then it blows up, and they don't even know why it blew up. So
Yep,
I
that's
wanted to
true.
eliminate all of that. I wanted this year to be as streamlined as possible, and I did it. So I lost about 147 pounds in a year.
Oh my gosh.
It was
It's
crazy.
like a person.
It was
okay.
a whole person.
Yep.
It was a wild ride, and I was standing on stage at South Carolina State doing my first figure competition and won that show. And that is how this crazy world.
Oh my gosh, you're such an
fitness
overachiever.
began for me.
Unbelievable.
So that's
Wow.
I went up and up and up for me.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, it takes, okay, so you and I were just talking about this. So I want to get into this. Now, what you've accomplished has physically been amazing. I mean,
Absolutely.
physically what your body went through, how it performed, like all the things that the transformation you made. But where I always start with the credit is the mind.
Absolutely.
And years ago, when I started, long before Devotion, long before all my Devotion platforms and stuff I'm doing now, I had a Facebook page and I was really working on my comeback and my transformation, everything.
Right.
And it really did click with me that it was all coming from my mental toughness. It was coming
Absolutely.
from my mind. And I made a page and it was called like DLK Fitness, Strong Minds Making Hard Bodies. Like I tried
Love
to
it.
come up
Yeah.
with like a cute saying. And it's probably still up there today. Who knows? And I really strongly believed and started to always preach that, like, if your mind isn't right and you don't have the right mindset,
Nothing will happen.
yeah,
Your body will give you a couple weeks because it just could, but
Yeah.
it'll conk out because your mind's not on board. Everything is mindset, and that's what I learned when I started cross country and the running.
Yep.
The distances became, more and more, greater and greater, and it was all, I can do this because my body is able, and it's just basically me telling my mind, okay, I have to take one more step.
Right.
One more step, one more step. Instead of looking at the distance, I would just break it down into macro size.
yes,
Just little tiny teensy pieces.
the big picture looks overwhelming
Absolutely.
and it's intimidating. And a lot of people, a lot of people right now, if they're looking at you or they look at some of my fitness pictures or some of the things that we've accomplished, they'll look and say, oh, that'll never be me. I couldn't do
Right.
it. I don't know. But it's like, okay, you're looking at the end result or, that
Exactly.
part of time where it's like, okay, well, if you looked at my pictures,
Right.
back then, yeah, probably I would have said that too if I looked at myself.
Absolutely.
But I didn't go from like I woke up one day and you didn't go from 200 and whatever pounds
Right.
to then all of a sudden you're like, yeah. And so I woke up and the next day I ate a couple egg whites and I was standing on stage and then it was just like, wow. Like, no.
3 asparagus.
3 asparagus stalks later, I was shredded. I looked unbelievable. Like, no, there's a whole journey of little mini steps every day to get
Absolutely.
there.
Absolutely. It's a full journey. And honestly, biting off that 1 year seemed in the beginning when I can remember getting to the gym and signing the contract with Garrett, who is my trainer at that gym. And I was just sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I just signed this contract. I'm dumping this money in. Am I going to really do this? Like, how am I going to do this? And I said, okay, Maria, look. The first thing is to just show up tomorrow.
Yes.
How about we just show up
Yes.
tomorrow? Let tomorrow be what tomorrow is.
Yep.
And just worry about tomorrow.
Yep.
Because my motto is, well, I might not even be alive.
Right,
So I'll
right.
be worrying about something that.
Exactly.
So just come. And along the way, I journal. I think that getting your mental in place to do any type of journey, anything, journaling, or making vision boards, I think that those are really, really good tools to utilize to help the mindset. So I started journaling, and being really brutally honest. Today I don't really want to do this. but I need to do this because I need to be healthy for my children.
Right.
Is what I was writing back then.
Which is like what, your why?
That was my why.
That's your why.
That was my why. And writing things that I need to do this because I'm strong enough to do this. Mm-hmm. And I even would write silly things. I've looked at this journal a couple months ago, actually, as a matter of fact. On one of the pages, I wrote, way back in the BC days, they had to walk by foot. And if you read biblical stories, they were walking for a long way.
Oh, yeah. I thought of that, actually.
Like,
how did people get around? They actually had to walk. Like,
when you look at the geography, you're like, huh.
Yeah.
So that took about 5-6 months, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just to get from point A to point B.
Right.
Right, to give a sermon. I mean, think about it.
Yep.
So I literally wrote that down and said, look, that's the mindset. And they didn't worry about 5 months down the road.
No.
They just said, okay, we're going to go here tomorrow. We're going to walk here, then we're going to rest. And then after we rest, we're going to carry on.
Yeah.
But they worried about just the immediate. And that is literally how I do everything that I do today. Just one little piece at a time.
Yes. Okay, I love that because it's how I have done all that I do. Even if, so sometimes I don't, I'm not saying this is something you guys should do, but when I say like sometimes I don't even fully think it through.
Right.
If it's like, if it scares me, not scary where it's like, oh, bungee jumping, I'm just going to.
Right.
Okay, no, I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about where I'm like, okay, so say even with launching the podcast, I've been talking about it for a while. Like I should have one. I've got a lot of like great guests and stories and all that. But then it was like finally where I was like, we're doing it. And then it's like, well, do you have time for that? Do you have another? Okay, you know what? We're going to find the time.
Out.
And it's like, I just like came in. I was like, we're signing the contract. We're going to get this thing rolling, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'd make the moves. Even launching my company, it was like, I was like, we've got a good product. We're going to LLC. We need the name. We need what. And I stopped overthinking and I just fired away. I just did it.
Yes.
I kept doing the scary things. And then the scary things became not scary.
Absolutely.
And then they added up, and then I was like on to the next thing because I'm like, okay, well, now I'm in it. Like even signing up for my first show, it was like, okay, I signed up, I picked the date, and now it's like, okay, where's the diet, and then what's the training, and then we're gonna go, and one day at a time, and we're chipping away, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, like I'm in this thing.
I'm in it. Yeah, you're knee deep, and you're like, oh,
how did I get in here? But I'm here
to be scared.
Yeah, exactly.
Too late.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like that's when people do all kinds of extraordinary things, and you look and you're like, whoa, like how did he do that? How did she do that? It's like because they just went for it. They did it.
Absolutely. Stop. It's really the holdup for all of us is all in our heads.
Uh-huh.
It is literally all between our ears. We make excuses and complain and I can't and all of it. It's just all in our head.
Okay, so you right now are on top of all of the training that you do. With clients, you're training yourself for something pretty, like I'm blown away with what you're doing. And I look at what you're doing, I'm like, oh God, I can never, oh my God, she's crazy. This is crazy. But it's impressive and it's unbelievable, especially with the background that you just gave me saying like, look, this wasn't like where I was born and I was like, hey, I'm going to go. Right. Okay. So you're training for what?
I am training for an Ironman, which is a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and then a full marathon, 26.2 miles. All strung together in one event.
Okay, that is wild.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you're training for it, which means like the race right now sounds wild, but now you actually have to get your body, your endurance, your everything, your swimming, your biking, your running. You have to be. How long are you training for? How long have you been training for?
So I'm pulling 30-hour training weeks currently right now, which is a lot. So my
that's like another job. Got it.
It's another job basically. But I'm also doing something a little bit different. I am trying to prove that you can be what is called a hybrid athlete. A lot of males do this where, they don't really bodybuild, but they're in really good muscular shape and they're doing endurance sports. What I'm on a quest to prove is that women and men, but I'm a woman, so can do, bodybuilding in addition to high endurance sports. So everyone told me when I started this process, oh, you're going to lose all your muscle and you're going to get stringy and you're not going to look good. It's high endurance.
Right.
But I am of the mindset because I know nutrition so well and I'm convinced that it's really just a nutritional, equation that you need to work out a bit more firmly and still do the appropriate training that it can be done. So that's my quest right now to prove. And I've
You're
done.
proving it. I mean, you're holding
you.
beautiful muscle.
Thank you.
Your physique looks unbelievable.
Thank
I mean, you
you.
look like you could go either way right now. Like you could definitely
Get on
get on
stage.
stage,
Right.
or you could maybe do an Ironman or something.
Right. So that's kind of where I'm at. So that's why the hours are a bit extra.
Yeah.
But my days, I'm swimming 5 days a week.
In the ocean.
In the ocean, yeah. I've got one pool day, sometimes two if I'm being lazy or if it's too choppy.
But the ocean swimming, that's intense because I go out there just try to battle some waves, and I'm like a freaking flopping seal out there, like just trying to stay. And you're what? How many?
2.4.
Okay, that's
yeah.
a
So
lot.
4,000 meters if we have anybody that's watching from Europe. But that's and let me get into the swimming because
Yeah.
that's actually I'm afraid to drown. I swam also in high school. I was on the dive team and water polo team, and every day I thought I was going to drown in the pool. I don't know why I have this inherent fear, and so I'm sharing this because I want people to know that when you have fears, face
them.
It's in your
Yeah.
mind. It's literally in your mind.
That's impressive what
Yeah.
you're doing, because a lot of people, if they have a fear, they're like, "This is my fear. I'm not doing
I'm
it.
not doing it.
Yep.
Right. So I literally just every time I'm in the water, I have some small type of a spaz out, whether it's at the beginning or sometime it's when I'm literally in the middle of the swim.
Whoa.
Where I should at this point be very comfortable. And I have to remind myself, bring it down.
Yeah.
Mindset, right?
Mindset.
Just take it 25 meters at a time. And so when I get to that next 25 meters,
Yep.
I do a self-check. You're okay. You haven't drowned. You're still breathing.
Yeah.
No shark.
No sharks. You're
25
swimming. Although I
25
heard that
more.
you did encounter a jellyfish, and yeah.
Thank God for your mom.
Yeah, she's
She's
called me about
amazing.
that. She entertains me while we're on the walk, and she's like, "You got to hear about what happened to Maria." And I was attacked by a jellyfish. I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Well, this is giving me anxiety." Like, oh,
I get to the house. I swam that day, and of course, I got to come. I've got to work, so I come and meet your mom, and I get to the house, and my neck looks like it's been just mangled.
and you still finished your swim.
I still finished my swim.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
A lot of people would be in that kind of pain and be like, "Okay, swim's over."
That's the thing. So these races, Ironmans, you're in open water. These things happen, and so I had to make a decision. There was a part of me that was like, "Screw this,
Right,
I'm out."
sure.
I literally I was. In
No,
the
a lot
water.
of people would say,
I was
"Screw this,
bobbing
I'm out."
for quite a minute. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Wait
Yeah.
a minute, this is serious." But I had to make a decision, and here was the decision. No matter what, I had to swim
Yeah.
to get out or to keep going.
Yeah. Because in a real race, I mean,
You can come out and just and
you did be
do not
disqualified.
finish.
So all
Yeah.
that training that
All
you
the training
did
for nothing,
and then you're
right.
gonna be like, "Thanks, jellyfish, you ruined my thing." Like, I'm not gonna let you the jellyfish win.
Right, exactly. And so I said, I said I wanted to do this. So it's either you want to do it or you don't want to do it. Make your decision now. But the point still remains. You got to get out either way.
Yeah.
So finish, make a decision.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to finish it. I came here to complete a task.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm going to do. So I had
Wow.
to battle my mind.
Yeah,
you
it was
know?
in your mind. It's all
It's
in your
all
mind.
in
Your
your
mind
mind.
will tell you. And what did we say? Like the body will follow.
It
like
will follow.
Yeah,
It legit. Yeah, because I just kept saying, okay, it stings, it's burning, but
Yeah.
like, am I on fire? I was like, no. And people I think about that. Like, there have been people who've been burnt.
yeah, who've
literally
endured a
been
lot
on
of-
fire,
yeah.
and they're okay, and they're still going
Yeah.
in life. So I just said one stroke at a time.
Yeah.
And got back into my rhythm and just finished
Wow,
it out.
and finished it
So,
out. And then
yeah.
isn't that, do you find, because I was like, I've been talking about this lately, especially even with my kids, is that like these little goals that they attain, like every time I think of myself, where did my self-confidence come from to keep?
Right.
And it was because I would set the goals and then I accomplished them and then I'd feel self-confident and then
Yes.
it would give me the confidence to set another one and
Yes.
another one.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So it's like when you finish that day, you were like, heck yeah. Like
Yeah.
I finished that even with the stings and
Yes.
Yeah,
I conquered it. I was able to conquer it and laugh about it.
But then that's going to make your head game so much stronger for the real race, like for when you're actually in the race, because it's like you already knew. Okay, I swam through a jellyfish. I've done swimming through fear. I've been, it's like no matter what I encounter on the way, now it's like
face it and move right.
Yeah,
and it's. I feel like, every time I have to face that fear, it pulls back a layer of the onion of myself.
Yes.
It exposes something to me that I have to kind of acknowledge, which is good because then I grow from it.
Always.
As soon as I'm like, well, let me acknowledge, okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable or I'm feeling inadequate. There's swimmers that are on our team that, I'll be quite honest, they don't look like they should be able to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so that's also a misconception, right? I think people see me, they think, oh my gosh, she's so strong and she can just probably do anything, and don't realize, okay, I might not be the best at everything. And it can leave like a little bit of a feeling of inadequacy. Mm-hmm. So it pulls back a layer on myself and I'm like, okay, get yourself together. You're feeling inadequate. Just keep swimming.
Yeah.
Like if the pack leaves me, like, okay, that's fine. Because what I've learned is there's been times when the pack has left me on the swim. And thankfully, I didn't quit. I just said, okay, keep your pace, finish it out. And then they've already gotten on their bikes to do the next leg because we're doing like training simulation.
Right.
And then I catch them on the bike.
Oh, heck yeah.
So that tells me, that's giving me confidence to stay in your lane, play the game the way that you set it up in your mind, and don't let feelings of inadequacy or whatever, your self-doubt, don't let those things take over. They're natural to feel them, but face it, understand what they are, and say, you know what? I'm bigger than this. I can do it. Let me just keep going.
Yeah.
Until you finish it.
No, I love that. That's what it's like. Until it's done.
Until it's done.
Until it's done. That's why I'm obsessed with with that hashtag for our company. It's like every time I see it, I put it in my gym. It's like anywhere it is, I got stickers. Like I have customers who say I put those until it's done stickers everywhere because it's like you don't until it's done. Like we don't finish until we're finished.
Until
like
you're
really finished.
Right.
And some journeys sometimes are never finished, and you just keep going and you just keep moving
until it's done when you hit your casket.
I guess so. But you know what? Like we're always like
you're
evolving.
Always evolving.
Yep.
My hashtag is do it anyway.
Yeah.
No matter the feeling, just do it anyway.
Yeah.
You never know where you're going to get. Just go straight at it and just do it anyway. You'll be so surprised on the back end how far you get just because you hung in there to do it.
Yeah. I love that. And for me, leveling up my fitness all the time, it's like I told you, I haven't done any running in a couple years. I don't know. I guess it was getting hard on my body, whatever. I mean, I'm a big baby. I'm just making excuses. But I was doing other things and whatever. So my kids and I, Devotion is sponsoring a 5K in our town.
Wonderful.
It's going towards foster care children. And so it's like a meaningful 5K.
Right.
So I said, all right, that we're sponsoring it anyway. The kids, let's do this. Let's do this together. And Bryce has been working on her running.
She's doing so well.
So I want to, so I'm going to run with the kids.
Right.
And so I started back today with the Peloton and I'm kind of, well, not that I have a Peloton treadmill, but I use their program sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I don't always need that. But in the beginning, sometimes it's nice to have like the running coaches.
Absolutely.
And the programs that they have, it's, like, I don't know how to program a running program. So instead, I follow theirs.
Right.
And I make little goals because it's not a coach that's standing right next to you. It's on every screen and they think you're doing great. And I'm like, oh yeah. And I'm running at like a 4:0 and I'm like, I'm doing great. But he wanted us to finish some stuff out and do some interval. And I said to myself, like, Dana, you're not touching. You're not turning it off. Like my body hurts right now. I haven't done this in quite a while. I'm not really conditioned right now for these these hill runs and all this stuff. But I was like, you are not you're training for this. You're going to be next to your kids. Like you're setting an example. You are fine. You are not going to get hurt. You're going to be fine. This is just your head saying, I don't want to stop. This is uncomfortable.
That's right.
I was just uncomfortable mentally. I thought, oh my God. I'm like, my body's fine.
You're fine. Yeah. Growth comes from being uncomfortable though. All the time. All the time.
And then so I, like we were saying before, I'll play these games where I'm like, I'm not stopping until that timer goes to 0. Like it was a countdown, and I think I had like 10 more minutes of like just straight hill running, and I was like, oh, my lungs are burning. I'm like, oh my God, this is brutal. But I was like, okay, calm yourself. Run. We're taking this one stride at a time.
Right.
And I'm just going to keep going. And before I knew it, it was like the 10 minutes was gone. I was like, heck yeah. And then I was like, my confidence was like, yes, we are going to do this. We are going to do this. And the kids are going to do it. And I'm going to lead my children to that finish line because I want my kids, like what you were saying.
That's right.
About, I want to teach them that we're starting something, we're finishing it.
Absolutely.
And we are going to have that feeling of accomplishment. And then we'll look at the next race with a different mindset.
Absolutely. And it creates a mental toughness within yourself and in your children. They'll start to look at tasks differently. They'll start to say, you know what, it probably isn't that difficult. I probably can do it. Yeah. If I set up a plan, and that's the key, right? After you get your mind on board, then you just set up a plan that your mind can follow.
Okay.
One that's reasonable.
Yes.
You know, and so if your mind says, okay, well, we know that we can run a 5K now, but now we want to try for a 10K. Then you say, okay, well, we're going to put 6Ks on the plan.
Right.
For the next couple weeks and just run steady 6Ks and see how we feel with that. You know, you can do 5.
Yep.
You didn't die.
Right.
So you're adding 1.
Yep.
Your mind's already said, okay, we want to do something more. So you're on board there. And it really just gives a whole lot of confidence in everything. Schoolwork. Yeah. I've given my kids tasks. Once I lost that weight, my kids operated completely different. All of them are already nerds and super straight A students back then, but they really leveled up their education game, and the way that they dove into projects totally changed.
Wow.
It was a very, very, very noticeable difference in their behaviors because they watched me level up. So it really did trickle down to them. And I think so what you're doing for the girls is going to be great. I think.
Yeah. And Bodhi, it's funny with Bodhi, because it's actually Bodhi and Bryce that are doing it. Bijou's a little intimidated because she's like, well, I'm not a runner. I don't know. But with Bryce already was like, Mom, I'm in it. I'm doing it. And she's already. And then we were just talking about it at dinner last night. And then I was like, yeah, we're just going to run this 5K. And I'm so excited. And Bodhi was like, well, maybe I'll run it too. And I was, oh, would you like to? Like, I let it be his idea. I'm not pushing it on them. But when he said, I was like, yeah, we'll make you a shirt. Like, you can join the team if you want. Like, you know, we try to make it nonchalant.
But yeah.
Deep
inside, you're like, this is huge.
This is huge. The fact that he said, like, he'll do it. And I'm like, you know, it's at 7 a.m. We got to wake up early. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, I'm excited. Let's do it. And I know for him and his little delicate state at 14 and his confidence and all that stuff.
Yes.
Like, I know we no matter what, we're going to finish that race.
Absolutely. As a family. And that's what's really, really huge. And I think that it's great to get as many families on board to do it, even if they have to walk it.
Yeah.
You know?
I said to them, I'm like, guys, if we need to do a little walk, run, act, whatever we need to do, that's okay. Like, we're together, we're doing it, we're accomplishing it.
Absolutely.
So for now, you know, I know now you're working with my mom, and it's been really cute because she feels like she's leveling up now.
She has leveled up.
Yeah.
She does weights that she probably thought she'd never pick up for a woman her age. I just give it to her and keep talking.
Right, yeah. No, but and it's funny, sometimes just like you don't want to hear it from your mom, she probably didn't want to hear it from me. Because if I told you, I finally it was like, she'll go, well, I lift the weights that I can lift. And, you know, my body is, you know, I'm 70 and and it hurts my body. And I'm like, okay, you know, like, or she'll tell me like, I don't eat that amount of calories and I'm not going to do it. And she, you know, so she was set in her ways and she didn't want to hear it from me.
Yes.
Even though I would say, I'm like, Mom, I really don't feel that you're eating enough to support what your goals are. And I would say this stuff to her, but maybe because I'm younger, I'm her daughter. Like, it's like,
it's always when it's family.
She doesn't want to hear it, or she would just say, well, you know, this is me and my body, and this is what, and I'd be like,
okay, Mom.
And then finally she starts working with you and she's like, you know, eating all this food it's been amazing for me. And I need these calories and my body is like a rock and I am so strong. You should see the way. And I'm like,
I told you this before, Mom.
I'm like, okay, really? Am I just hearing myself like regurgitating out of your mouth? Like, but I'm
Right.
like, okay, I'm happy to hear it. Like, I'm happy to
Absolutely.
hear it because I knew she had more in her.
Right.
And I knew that she had the potential to eat more calories and make more progress and all of that. But you know what? I was like, okay, then we need Maria to step in and to set the woman straight. Because all right, that's fine, Mick.
She's special.
She is.
She's a special
she's
woman.
amazing,
But
yeah.
when it's family, it's so weird. I don't know why that dynamic exists.
Yeah.
When I was married, my ex-husband, once I got in shape, then I was looking at him like, well, it's your turn.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, I've been there. Yep.
Let's wrap this dad bod up.
Yeah.
So, and in the beginning, it was like a constant fight.
Yeah.
He didn't want to really listen. And then he came to me himself. He said, I need to pay you like I'm a client. And I looked at him like he was crazy.
Like he needs like skin in the game.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said, I need to have skin in the game. And I said, well, if we're going to operate like that, when I'm telling you to do things, I'm not going to be speaking to you as your spouse. I'm going to be speaking to you as my client.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's fine.
Okay.
And he got into phenomenal shape.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sometimes you just have to
Again,
separate
it's
the two.
mindset.
It's mindset.
It's mindset. Because it's like, it's like for a man to be being told by his wife,
Yes.
You should eat that, don't eat that. It sounds
Right.
like nagging. But then if he was getting it from a female coach
Absolutely,
or
he would
whatever,
follow
it's
it.
not like,
Yeah.
oh, she's nagging me. It's like, no, I'm your coach.
coach, right.
Like I'm telling you this not because I'm trying to be a naggy wife. Like I'm not
Exactly.
trying to make your life miserable.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm trying to help you. But
right.
that's a
Yes.
interesting dynamic.
It's very
but you guys
interesting.
you figured that out and you made it clear and you set the boundaries so that
Absolutely.
everybody understood. You're like, look, I'm not like trying to make your life miserable. I'm trying to help you.
Right. And when there were missed workouts, I was like, you can't miss these workouts and tell me on check-in days, that you're not happy with what you see. Well, this is what happens when you miss workouts. So I was
Don't
really
be
stern.
upset from the results you
What you
didn't
didn't
get for
get.
the work you didn't do.
Absolutely. So it was really stern, but it worked out extremely well. And
Yeah.
he looks great. So, I mean,
That's
you got to
that's
just
awesome.
finding that dynamic. With your mom, it's the same thing, and finding the dynamic. And also, I think for her, keeping it fun.
Yes.
She needs to have fun. It's a great outlet for her.
Yep.
And we take our time to really talk about like our life and all sorts of things. And I
Yep.
make it, so that she doesn't seem like she's dying, even though she's
Oh
dying.
yeah, no. My mom wants to have fun. She wants to
Right.
laugh. She wants to, which I mean, I
Absolutely.
get it. Like when
Yeah.
my mom and I are together, like that's our
Right, you're
best
always giggling,
times,
right.
And we have so much fun. And but yeah, she wants to bring that into everything, which I totally get. And then she does have to have trust in the process,
Right.
Which I think she's had to look. Even though she's. Every client, I feel like, starts out, they're like super optimistic and they're excited
yeah.
because it's their new plan.
New
They're
plan, right.
And then if things aren't exactly the way she wants it, when she wants it, it's like then she'll start saying like, well, am I gonna lose weight? And where's my stomach fat should be this and this should be this. And I'm
Right.
like, Ma, like you just started, and I know you feel like 4 months, 3 months, 5 months. It's like there's no amount of time. Like you just
Right.
put in the time. Like you just if I really gathered the amount of time it really took for me to get my physique, I'm like, Ma, it didn't happen to me in like a few months.
Right, it
Like
was
it's
years.
been years
Years.
of my foundation, of my diet, of my
Right.
training, of my diligence, and so
Absolutely.
trusting the process.
Yes, it's a daily, and it's a consistently daily process. I mean, everything we put in our mouth and every activity we do or do not do, it all adds up, right?
Yep.
So it's just one big system. And so I think when it does come to fitness, I sometimes, and social media, I feel like flaunts this. We have an unrealistic view of what being fit really is.
Right.
And people think that they can just, because it looks like it's overnight on screen,
Yes, that's what I'm
You know?
saying.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I feel weird always it's even though I love to post the pictures of like my progress and where I am, whatever. I want to
Right.
always remind people, which is why those transformation pictures. It's like,
Yes.
look, like this is not. I'm not like some genetic freak, like
Yeah.
or I'm not super blessed. I work at this and I've
Yes.
worked at it and I've worked at it. It's like it's been a,
it's
a
hard. It's a
journey.
journey. Well, it is. It's a journey. I think a lot of people see me all the time and they think they're like, "Oh my God, you're always ready to get on stage. Like, how are you doing it?" And it's really just that I'm very consistent.
yes.
For me, at this stage of life, I'm not 20 anymore. I'm in my 50s now. Like,
Yeah.
trying to gain weight to put on maybe a pound of muscle is unrealistic.
Sure,
You know,
yeah.
so it's all just me racking up consistency points.
Yes.
That's what I think about all the time. Just okay, how close did I stay to the plan that I've set today for my nutrition? You know, I try to stay within the 95 to 100% range during the week. On the weekends, I cut myself some slack. I'm 85-15.
Okay.
Right? So that's the box that I live in and that works for me. And I think people need to also create a box, a box of reality for themselves.
Yeah.
Like, you know, how do you want to look? And then understanding what that look really would
what that entails. And stop playing the victim.
Right.
And it's like, oh God, well, I just don't but I just can't that. And it's like, well, then that's okay. But
That's
like,
okay.
be
Right.
realistic then.
Right.
Not like where it's like, well, then my body doesn't want to do that or I can't do it. It's like, well.
It does. You just
body
have to
like-
give up your wine that you drink 3 glasses of every day.
Exactly. And it's like, you know, we have this social life and we have the, you know, it's like, I
Right.
get it, but it's like, but then that's okay. Like if you want the social life, you want it, but then be realistic with your
Absolutely.
physique goals
Right.
because that lifestyle doesn't lend to that lifestyle. Like they
Right.
don't go hand in
and
hand.
again, it goes back to what we're talking about with mindset, though. I'm very social.
Yeah,
you know,
sure, yeah.
And there could be a spread of food out there, and if I've made up my mind that I'm going to be social.
Yes.
Social and eating are two
Don't
different
need-
words.
right.
They're not synonymous.
Yes.
Right?
Even though that's what
That's
Americans,
what everyone has
you know,
made it. Right.
Right.
So I literally, if I'm going to a social gathering, I'm going to meet with people and laugh and talk and have a really good time. I'm not thinking about food. So I eat before I go.
Right.
And I go have a good time. Now, if I say I'm going to an event where I do want to eat,
Yeah.
I'm going to go eat.
Yes.
You know, I've made up my mind.
You sound
that
just like me.
yeah.
It's like I'm either there.
Yeah, I'm either there to
Yeah,
eat.
I'm gonna eat.
and be social,
Right.
or I'm just going to be social. But it's a mindset.
Yes.
So if I say okay, the social event's a week away, and I say okay, I want to go there and eat and relax a little
Yes.
bit. I set my week up so that I can make space.
I explained that for my mom
Yeah.
on one of our podcasts. I don't know if you listened to it, but she said, you know, she was like, well, then we would show up and then you're eating everything. And so then I'd say, well, Dana looks great, so I'm going to eat everything. And I'm like, Mom, that's because I set my week
set
up.
my week up.
Because I knew if Family Sunday Fun Day or we're having Boca Bash or we're doing
That's
whatever,
right.
I said, I'm going to eat the pizza. I'm going to have the barbecue.
Right.
I'm going to do the stuff.
Right.
But that you see me doing that, but that's because the week before I have been diligent with my training, my diet, my plan.
Absolutely.
And I set myself up that I can. And then I mentally say, Dana, it's okay. Today's going to be the day that you enjoy and you're going to be okay with it. And there's no regrets. And Monday morning or whatever it is after that
Right.
day, we're right back.
Absolutely. Yep. I set it up. I even kind of predetermine how much I'm going to eat of said thing,
Sure.
you know, because it's there, I don't need to be gluttonous about it too.
No, but if you want to
Right, but
taste
if I
it, or I'm
wanna
like, I haven't
taste
had
it, yeah.
the pizza. My mom makes that. They have a pizza oven at their
Yes.
house, and if they're doing veggie pizza, and I'm like, oh, I love that.
Totally
we make our
getting
own.
it.
I'm like, that's cool. Like, I'm gonna have some
Absolutely.
veggie. I don't need to eat like everybody's veggie pizza.
Right.
I'll have like a few slices of mine
right.
or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So I agree with you. I set myself up for that, and then I relax and I enjoy it, and I don't feel, you know, bad. And in the morning, next morning, I wake up, I look completely fine. Like it didn't happen.
Right.
But
What happens is, like for myself, is that when I have a bad day, and then I feel bad, and then I wake up the next day, and if I don't get my butt on track, or if I do it again, and then that turns into 3 days,
right, the
and then
snowball effect.
and that a lot of times that happens around holiday times. It happens
Yes.
around, you know, whatever, like times where you're just having a good time and you're, I'm just going to have some fun. But you to think about like, oh, it's no big deal. But then all of a sudden you realize, oh,
Right.
okay, the 85-15 thing it's shifted.
You're at 70-30.
Yeah. And then you're like,
And
wait a
it's not
second.
that you're at 30 good.
And all of a sudden you're like, and you feel it. You feel it.
Yeah, you feel it. So that's normal. We all have those, you know, the snowball effect days is what I call it. But I think that's when it's imperative that you sit down with yourself instead of continue to spiral. You know, your brain is saying you're spiraling.
Yeah.
And that's when you need to be mature enough to say, I've got to stop.
Yeah.
Put the Band-Aid on the bleeding now.
Yeah.
And, you know, getting to a place of maturity to acknowledge that emotion is really tough for women. We you know, it's like we beat ourselves up and we, instead of saying, let's stop, we say, we'll just compound the issue.
Right.
But I legitimately, if I feel like I'm having one of those moments, say, okay, you know that you're going to wake up tomorrow and you're not going to like what you see.
Yep.
So why are you creating days of agony for, I don't know, something that tasted good for 5 minutes?
Right. That you already had yesterday and the day before and the day
Right.
before. So what are we doing here?
Right. What are we doing?
Because I've had, and recently I had a rough week last week. I did some emotional eating that I didn't need to do because I did it and it was, and then it was like at the moment it feels good. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Dana, my weight's up. And then I'm like, oh, shoot. And so I do have now that maturity where Monday morning or Sunday actually, because this was like I was like, okay, we're prepping our food, we're getting ready, we're preparing the week. I'm going to get a plan going, and we are full steam ahead, back on track.
Right.
We are stopping this right now. We're stopping the bleeding.
Yes.
We're not going to harp. I also won't like stare at myself in the mirror.
Right.
Oh my God, look what happened. No, like put your clothes on and get back to work and stop it.
That's the thing too. Putting your clothes on. So you might be a little uncomfortable if you overate some of your clothes.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Feel that uncomfortable, acknowledge it. But I used to fix myself up. So I put on my cute outfit that I wanted to wear, put my, I don't wear makeup, but, get my skin, face nice and glowy and my hair and say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to kill it.
I love it.
Because when I put myself back in the mindset, then I'm ready to roll all over again. Yep. Another thing that helped for me in the beginning, and this is a great tip, if your family members might think you're nuts, but I started putting sticky notes everywhere if I was having spiral out of control days with some things positive, some things like shut the fridge, you're not hungry, you're being greedy. Right. Reminders.
Because it can go in you can have it in your head 1 minute and all of a sudden something else snap, or you're stressful again, or you get another phone call you don't want to deal with, and all of a sudden you're back out of that focus.
And some of them just, as I've aged now, just clearly have said things like stroke, heart disease.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean,
let's just be real here, right?
Yeah, diabetes.
I'm very raw and real in my space at home.
Yeah.
So I have done things like that because it's kept it very present in my mind of why I'm on this journey to begin with. Yeah, I love the muscles, don't get me wrong, but really at the end of the day, I want to stay healthy.
Yes.
I've got grandkids that I want to really love on and enjoy for as long as I can possibly enjoy.
The aesthetics I always call the gravy. I always say that's the gravy. It's like the stuff that I do, and I've said that a million times, like even though I like to, like show off my fitness and all that, it's like that is the gravy results from doing the healthy things.
Absolutely.
So it's not like that was my whole, yes, I love that aesthetic look. That's why I train for it.
Right.
But along the way, it's really the decisions I'm making is really because I want to be healthy. And I want to feel good.
Right.
And I want to be able to keep up with my kids in a 5K and all the things.
Right. And being able to be the grandmother that can actually do things that sometimes we think our grandparents could never do, Yeah, my grandparents were extremely healthy, so they were always dancing and parties and, very lively.
Right.
And so I had a good model of looking at that. And unfortunately, both of my parents died early, but so I didn't really get to see them continue on. But even as my dad was aging, he still was very healthy. My dad was shredded.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And my mom, she was in pretty good shape before she passed away, but for me, the goal is to be able to be extremely functional.
Absolutely.
I want to be able to race well into my hundreds if I can.
Oh, heck yeah. When you think about the quality of life as people get older, where they start needing help and and all of these things, it's like, I look at my mother at 70.
She's amazing.
I feel like she's going to be like the same at 80. And maybe the same at 90.
Agreed.
For what she's doing, it's like, why not?
Right.
If she's keeping her body strong and she's eating great and she's weight training and she's
right.
cardiovascularly fit and she's eating a great diet. I understand, okay, we're humans. It's the aging process.
Right.
But for crying out loud, she's not going to be walking around like the normal 90-year-old.
No, she's got
She's not going to have the hunchback, the stuff, the hips, the whole
She's got most 70-year-olds beat already. And a lot of it, again, is her mindset. She wants to feel and look a certain way. And she's not saying, I'm 70, so I must give in.
No, she never says that. Like, I throw the number around of her age because it's impressive to me. Because 70 used to sound like 70 was like,
You're on the edge.
I talk to friends all the time and they're like, I got this client. I have a friend who coaches people and she's like, she's like this 70-year-old grandma. And I'm thinking like, and then she tells me about this woman, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she sounds nothing like my mom. Nothing. And I'm like, you're talking about another 70-year-old, and yet, and I get it. Like,
the masses at that age just are not doing what your mom is doing.
And it all comes down to lifestyle and mindset. My mom will say to me sometimes, she'll go, God, I forget that because she'll say something like us kids or, she'll say something where she's grouping herself with,
I know,
as if she's like 40 like I am. And then I'm like, I think it's cute. I don't even say, she'll say something like, oh God, those fogies, those old fogies. And she'll talk about the people at the country club and she's talking about these old fogies. I'm like, Mom, they're your age. Like, they're not my age. And then she'll go, ugh, like, I'm not hanging out with them. I'm hanging out with you. And she,
It's such a weird reminder when we're talking. I'm just like, oh, I think she forgot how old she was.
She does. Yeah. But I love it because I'm like, that's awesome. She'll go, oh God, we're not hanging out with those old people. And I'm like, Mom. I'm like, okay. But, she really, with my mom, the age is just the number.
It's just a number.
In her mind, and she's, even with her fashion, her everything, she's wearing the same stuff. And not inappropriately when you're like, okay, why are you acting like you're 15?
Totally classy.
But like classy,
very
but
classy.
young.
Yeah.
Not where she's like, well, I'm 70, I guess it's time to wear a
house coat.
And
Yeah, she's very chic. It's her mindset.
Jeans, like everything's cool, good cut, trendy. Like she doesn't feel that, it's like, okay, well, I'm this age now, so that means I'm wearing this.
Exactly, which I love. She's just, and it's all really in her mind.
Yep.
She's her mind is made up that she's as old as she feels, and clearly she feels like she's in her 40s.
I love it, and I'm like, great, because I want her here forever. I'm like, look, if you give me like 40 more years. And that's fine.
Exactly.
I get it. If you get to a certain age and you're like, guys, I'm done with you, but like, I'm done with this life.
I'm bored because everyone else is gone.
Or like something. But yeah, I need her around for a long time. But she's, it's like, it's her mindset has always been, and her mindset's always like, I'm gonna do. She's been a go-getter as well.
Absolutely.
And so. She doesn't back down to the challenges, as you can see now. She
does not. She does not back down. She lets them happen.
Yeah.
I think for her too is the beauty about your mother is because she likes to have a good time. She's not overly focused on the task at hand.
Yeah.
Right.
So exactly.
As she's talking, I'm just pulling pins and pulling out weights, and
which is good. It's like you're just distracted.
And then by the time she's finished, she's like, "Oh, I thought that was extra heavy."
Yeah.
Like, well, it was a heavy weight. It was 50-pound dumbbell. She's like that she's doing rows with.
And she's solid right now. She's making me, every time I see her, she's like, feel my leg, feel my back, I'm like, oh my God, Mom.
All right, Mom, I've got to touch you all over. Put me to shame.
Now I'm like, oh, great. So for women who you think, because I get a lot of times on my Instagram, I'll say something, whatever it is, and then the women will be in my DMs going like, well, that was fine, but I'm 54 now, or I'm 63 now, or I did whatever. And, it's like a lot of times they'll come at me to be like, wait till you're whatever, wait till you're 55 and then you'll understand. And I'm like,
I get the DMs all the time because everyone thinks I'm younger.
Okay.
So I do understand. And I say, well, hello.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm older than you, and I started the process later than most. I was already in my mid-30s at that point.
Yeah.
So, my advice to women is, first of all, it's for anyone. You're still breathing.
Yep.
It's never too late to start anything if you're still breathing.
I agree.
I went through a little stint where I was doing some powerlifting and really fell in love with it. And went to this gym in South Carolina. Family's military, so we moved around a lot. And it was near the base. There's a group of ladies there called the Powerlifting Grannies.
Oh, that's so cute.
I had just gotten to the granny portion. My oldest daughter had her first grandbaby, Vanessa. And so I was like, oh, I'm thinking maybe they're going to be my age.
Yeah.
I go in there, and these women were 70 plus.
Wow.
Deadlifting 300 pounds plus. They are true powerlifters, like on the powerlifting circuit. I was like, I need to leave because I'm not really pulling. I'm not pulling this much weight right now. I don't want to be embarrassed.
Right.
But I sat there and I watched these women taking after this weight like crazy. They were aggressive, and I mean, they got the little silver hair and the curls and the glasses. I mean, they looked like grannies. They didn't look anything like what your mom looked like. Classy, chic, bouncy. These were grannies, like the epitome of what a granny would look like, pulling weight. So I say that to say this: you can do anything you want as long as you're still functioning.
Yeah.
You can do it. You just have to start is the key.
And by start, look, you don't have to walk in and say, I want to be a power lifter and then pull 300.
Right.
All right, start with a bar.
Absolutely.
Get your form down, start. Just say, I'd like to try this and have realistic expectations for yourself. Not, I'm ready to pull 300 and be in a meet in next month.
Right.
No, but anything is possible for anybody. And that's the beauty of
That's the Iron Man logo. Anything is possible.
Really?
Their slogan. Yeah, it's anything is possible. And it's true. In the racing community, I went to go watch the Leadville 100. It's 100-miler road run. And this blew my mind. I get to the race. It's in Utah in the heat of the summer. It's hot. And Utah's always hot. But I see all of these older people, your mother's age. So I'm like, oh, this is just such a great community event. Look at all the grandparents out here probably to support their children on this race. It's 100 miles. You got to support teams. And it's got terrain and everything else. So I'm looking, I'm like, man, where's the start line? Let me find it so I can see I'm trying to size up the runners. So I get over there and realize I was at the start line.
And these are your competitors. Or these are the runners.
I was just spectating. They're the competitors.
Oh my gosh.
The average age of that race is 66 years old.
Wow.
I knew then after watching them, if they can do that and finish.
These are people who've mastered the mindset.
Absolutely. And that's what it is. They've mastered the mindset.
Yeah.
They have willed their bodies, and some of them looked very decrepit. That I was like, I hope there's a medic out here because first of all, the heat is about to take this brother out right here. He's looking weak and we haven't even hit the whistle.
Oh my gosh.
He's not looking right.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
But yeah, it was amazing.
Keep an eye on that, dude.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I stayed at that race for 22 hours to make
sure everybody was.
I wanted to watch everyone finish.
Yeah.
I wanted to instill in my mind that you can do it. Anybody can do it. So if you're wanting to get started on something, just take little steps.
Yep.
Set your mindset to say, okay, I'm on the couch today. Tomorrow I'm going to walk for 10 minutes.
Yep. But just start. Sign up. Do something that's a little scary.
That's right.
Just be like challenge yourself to do something you've wanted to do and that might be a little scary, or something that you've said out loud, like, oh, I'm going to do this one day. Oh, one day. What are you waiting for? Just do it.
It's so funny. I was telling someone the other day, a friend of mine, she said, oh, I really wish I'd gotten to acting. I said, so there's TikTok. Go do short stories on TikTok.
Yeah. Hone your craft and you never know. It's like you just have to start with everything, with all,
Just start.
Start. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This has been amazing. I think we've probably inspired, motivated for a lot of different people who, and I'm actually, I would love if you guys hear this, reach out to Maria or myself. I want to hear like what we have inspired you to do.
Yes, we want to know
after this podcast, because this has inspired me. Like now I feel like a wimp just with the 5K with Maria sitting right here.
Don't
or
feel
my
like
10-minute Peloton challenge.
No, it's the goal is it's all what you need it to be, to get you to the next step. Yep.
Well, thank you for being here. And you can find Maria on Instagram.
Well, it's Maria Redmond, IFBB Pro.
Okay, so look that up if you'd like to check her out. She's quite impressive, and I promised you we're going to have her back on again because this has been amazing.
Yes, had a good time.
Thank you. All right, thanks for joining us on another episode of Until It's Done, a Devoted podcast.